Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock, which means it's time for I Talk Magic. And I couldn't be more excited. If you've been listening to the channel recently, I've been talking about one particular YouTuber that I have absolutely fallen in love with. His content is amazing. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, he's the best YouTuber in Magic right now. I don't think anyone touches him. And I'm very lucky that I've managed to get him to come and do an interview on Talk Magic. I'm super excited because this guy is bossing it on YouTube. His videos are incredible. If you haven't checked them out, you need to. And what's exciting is I don't know this person as well as I do a lot of the interviews that I've done on this channel. So it's going to be as interesting for me as it is for you guys. I am, of course, talking about the one and only Cavan Booth. How you doing, Cavan?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. I was gonna make the joke when you were saying that, like, you love the channel and stuff. I was gonna make the joke of, but he can't be here, so unfortunately we've got Cavan Booth in instead. But I just want to say thank you so much for the kind words. That is, yeah, thank you very much. Likewise, your channel is absolutely incredible. I was asking you just before we hit record, how do you make so many videos?
I have
I struggle to get one out a week, and you're putting out three a day. What's going on?
you got to remember I've got a marketing team, so I run a couple of companies,
True.
and I have I have like three people in the marketing team, and I just leverage them. Like my wife, who's the managing director of the company, and by the way, if you're ever going to run a company, don't make your wife your boss. Effectively, never a good idea. But my wife says, you know, if they've got their own work to do, they have to be doing this, have to be doing that. I'm like, no, they need to upload more videos. So I'm cheating a bit because I just sit in front of a camera and then they do a lot of the hard work for
Oh, well,
me.
that's the best bit, being in front of the camera, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the easy bit. The hard bit is kind of Jack and Michael. But no, I don't want this to be about me. I want it to be about you because
Sorry, yes.
right, mainly because I want everybody who's watching this to, first of all, before you even listen any further, subscribe to your channel, because I found your channel about 6 months ago. Somebody, I'll tell you how, maybe a little bit longer, I'll tell you how I found it. Somebody commented on one of my videos and said, oh, you should check out Cavan Booth. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. And the second that I saw it, I did that thing that you do on YouTube where you just binge watch
The
content.
rabbit hole, yeah.
I went into a Cavan Booth like rabbit warren. And I was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, okay, I've got to go to bed. Maybe just one more video. And it was great. And I love your style. I love the way that you I find it really, every single video you put up just grabs me. The title's just like, I need to watch that. It's a little bit like my favorite TV program back in the day was Alias. I don't even remember Alias by Jennifer Garner.
Vaguely heard of it. Yeah, not
And
in
what I
my
loved about
sphere.
it, at the end of every episode, you couldn't stop. It was like there was always a
Right.
cliffhanger. I find the same with your content. It's like, I want to watch one more. I want to watch one more.
Oh,
So
thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't really know how to take that, but thank you. I really do like that.
it is great. And I want to find out all about you, but we're going to start at the very beginning because that's a very good place to start according to songs. So
Yes.
we're going to start at the very beginning. Obviously, we know you as a YouTuber, as a performer, but at some point you got into magic. So when did that happen? What's your origin story? How did you kind of find magic?
Well, yeah, I mean it's sort of a simple story really, but I think I was always going to be a magician. I think from even before I had my first magic kit, even before I stepped foot on a stage or got in front of an audience, I think I was always wanting to be a magician. I always found it very appealing. I was a huge fan of magic before I even thought that it was a possibility. And this will ring true for, I'm sure, a lot of viewers in the best way possible. I spent a lot of time on my own. I spent a lot of time doing very isolated hobbies, whatever it was, whether it was Lego or, whatever. And at some point that translated into magic. And it was really a Marvin's Magic set, little tin, that
Mhm.
set me off down that path. I just got obsessed with this little kit, learned every trick in it back to front, made my own tricks using the props, just used it and used it and used it. And then, very quickly discovered, oh wow, there's a whole world of learning magic. And so, yeah, down the
How old
YouTube
were you
rabbit
when that happened?
hole. And I was about sort of, I don't know, 11, maybe 12. And just from that day on, really, it became an unhealthy obsession. It really did. And here we are. So I made a good choice, definitely.
Now, I want to find out more, but forgive my ignorance. I think I
That's
know,
okay.
but I want to check. You make a full-time living from magic, is that right? As a performer and a content creator?
Nope.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I get comments all the time. I mentioned very, very briefly for like a second at the end of a video that I don't make a full-time living, and the comments were just like, "How? What? I thought you did." So it's just, I don't know, but no, I don't. I have a full-time job, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job, as a videographer, and I do magic exclusively. Well, I was going to say at the weekends, but we're in December, so it's evenings, and basically 100% of my time is working in one way or another of magic or whatever. And so yeah, I have all these plates spinning of, I've got this card company, I've got this magic membership, I've got the YouTube channel, I do the gigs, and all of that is outside of a full-time job. So it's I can't stop really. It's I don't know why, but at some point, I'm sure magic will be my full-time job. Just at the moment, it hasn't built to that stage, but it's certainly a large percent of my income. Yeah.
And rewinding back to when you were like 11, 12, and you just first got into Marvin's Magic, was the goal to be a full-time magician? Or videography makes sense because
Mm.
your videos are so well shot. They're I just sit in front of a whiteboard and just talk rubbish. But I mean, your
But
videos
people
are,
like that as well. That's the
yeah.
thing. People like both. They like high production value and they like low production value. And I've done both. When I started out making videos, it was just shot on, my Samsung S4 Mini, I think it was, or maybe even my BlackBerry before that, if that could even record video. I don't know, but it was the grainiest, most horrible video footage. And but the love of video became, well, that was first. I was more into video to start with. Magic was secondary because for my, I think it was 7th birthday, it was quite young to get a video camera. I got this video camera, and it was, you put like mini disc DVDs into it, which was, looking back is like old school, but at the time it was like, wow, I can actually record straight onto this like physical media. And I must have used up, more than 100 of these DVDs making my own little short films or, animations with my action figures and whatever it was. And that really got me into the love of filmmaking. And I went on to study film production at uni. I just graduated in the summer. And so film has always been a huge part of my life, and the video making has always been a huge part of my life. But then YouTube sort of offered this chance to combine my love of magic and my love of making videos. And it's like, oh, I can make videos about magic. And so as soon as I discovered that, that just, increased the snowball of my love of magic. I really sort of put down a lot of my love of magic to YouTube, really strangely.
Oh wow. So what came first? You setting up a YouTube channel for magicians or going out and actually gigging? Because obviously you do gigs, you go
Yeah.
out and perform. What came first?
Oh gosh, that is an incredible question. I actually don't know the answer. I think possibly the YouTube channel came first, because I think it was a very safe environment to perform magic is in front of a camera. And I mean that in the best way possible. No disrespect to people who only perform in front of a camera. It's completely a valid art form. But it's a very safe environment. You can do multiple takes. Let's
Mm-hmm.
be honest, you don't have to practice the tricks as much because if you mess up, you can start again and no one's ever going to see it. And that's the best thing. So, that was where it was. And I was just solely performing for the camera. And as my love of magic sort of, grew stronger, I thought, I think I'm ready to do this in front of real people, and I wasn't. My first gig was an absolute disaster. But, at least I sort of had the confidence to go out there and do that. And I must have only been, 14 when I did my first gigs in front of real people. But, I'd started the YouTube channel maybe when I was 13. So it was very, very close together, really.
And I have so many questions.
That's okay. Fire away.
So the first question is, what made you decide to set up a YouTube channel? And did you have any particular goals for it? I mean, obviously you're into videography, you're into magic. But I mean, was there a time when you were like maybe going to be setting up a YouTube channel on something else other than magic? What made you decide to make it on magic? Because
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great question. And it sort of reminded me that my YouTube channel wasn't always to do with magic. Like it's sort of 80% of it was, and most of it was me, performing tricks or talking about magic, and as I started to do gigs, I would talk about what happened at gigs on videos. All of these videos are now private, except my very, very first one, where ironically I was talking about how I don't like camera tricks. I now fully disagree with that, but that was my first sort of. I think I was just copying something I heard from another magician, like, yeah, camera tricks are bad. I'll make a video about that. Um, but originally the channel was just kind of a mix of lots of things that I was interested in, and obviously magic was a huge part of that. But I had no fear of going, oh, if I want to make a video about Lego, I'll make a video about Lego. And so I
Hmm.
would do that, and I'd make a little stop motion animation, kind of, like I did with the original camcorder. It was just whatever I felt like making, I would post it because no one was watching ultimately. It took me 6 months to get 100 subscribers. And for the first few months, there was zero. I wasn't thinking that anyone was going to see these. It was just purely for my own enjoyment, like the mini disc DVDs. No one was going to watch them. It was just for me. And then, oh, suddenly people are subscribing. That's interesting. Okay, maybe I should tailor this a little bit more and just focus on the magic, which is the majority. And then from that point on, it was just a magic YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. And what was your goal with the YouTube channel when you got to that point? So you got to the point where you thought people are subscribing. Obviously, you're still young at this point. You're like maybe 13, 14, something like that,
Yeah.
15. But you've got this YouTube channel where people are subscribing to it. They're listening to what you say. Was your goal to grow this thing massively, or
Um,
is your goal to do? Because
yeah.
one thing I want to pick your brain about YouTube, and a lot of people they think that you can make a fortune on YouTube. Don't know, oh, I'm
Oh,
going to be rich and famous instead of a YouTube channel.
I wish.
Yeah, I wish that would happen as well. But obviously, and we're going to talk about your various different businesses and everything that you're doing. That's all connected to your brand on YouTube. Like
Yeah.
the card company and then the membership is all connected to people seeing who you are. Was that the plan, or was it just or did that change over time? And
Yeah, no, it was never really the plan. Although I remember I did start making money from YouTube. And again, when I say making money, I'm talking about, you know, pennies. But I started making money from the YouTube channel surprisingly early on because this was pre YouTube partner program having I guess eligibility criteria is the phrase that they use. So it was pretty much from the word go, you can be making a tiny bit of money if you connect an AdSense account to your YouTube account. Even if you're getting hardly any views, you can make a bit of money. And so I think that was quite exciting, even though it was just like £1 here and there, £2 here and there. It was like, oh, if I put this to one side, that's a cool deck of cards or a magic trick. That's pretty cool that just me making videos in my bedroom can result in that. So I'm not saying it was all money driven, but it was certainly a little incentive to be like, this is basically pocket money for doing something that I enjoy. But the goal was not money, and the goal was certainly not subscribers or views. Even though at the end of videos I go, well, subscribe and stuff. That's not really the goal, and I don't think it should be the goal for anyone. I've said this before. I think if you're starting a YouTube channel with the intention of getting subscribers and getting money, nowadays it is very possible, but are you going to enjoy that? I see these videos come up on the YouTube homepage every so often that's like how to hack the algorithm, how to get loads of views with YouTube shorts, and how to, break into the. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to? What are you getting from that? Are you are you having fun doing this? Yes,
yep.
you can, download a load of football clips and, make YouTube shorts, and, sure, they will probably get a lot of views because YouTube shorts is just like that. It will do that. But I think that is just sort of a replacement for something that you can't replace the feeling of making a really, really good video, a really well scripted, filmed, a well lit, well edited, a well-rounded
Mm.
video, posting that and seeing people in the comments going, that is really, really good. And it's not necessarily even for the validation. I was making what I would consider quite high quality videos before I was getting any validation or any comments or anything. But it's that feeling of achievement. You've done something there. You've made something that is good. And that is sort of why I was doing it, to go, okay, that video was good. How can the next one be better? It was all about quality rather than any sort of quantity of subscribers or money or views or anything like that. Even though that sort of did come it wasn't the original intention, but it was a brilliant side effect. I don't want to sound like I'm being ungrateful for the subscribers and the money and stuff, because obviously it's fantastic and it plays into a little bit, but no, that's not at all the main goal, I wouldn't say.
Okay. And I have to ask this question because I know anybody that's going to be watching this interview is going
Yes.
to expect me to ask this question, which is, what do you have any advice for somebody who's wanting to set up a YouTube channel? Let's say that somebody's listening to this and they are, your average close-up magician, or a semi-pro or a full-time pro, close-up. They do weddings, they do corporates, and they want to get more work. They think that YouTube is a way to do it, and they've decided to start putting content out on YouTube. Is there any advice you can give them?
Yeah, definitely. This is actually a video that's on my idea list, my sort of growing idea list, but I don't think it's one I'm going to make because I don't think it's particularly interesting as a sort of standalone video. But the advice itself for people who are here and already listening is very sort of good advice, I think, and that is it comes back to the idea list. Actually, the idea list is one of my pieces of advice. I think you should, if you want to make a YouTube channel about anything, come up with 100 ideas. They might be bad. They might be really bad and not clickable or anything like that, but just write down 100 ideas. And if you can do that relatively easily, then you've got a YouTube channel, because you're not going to make all of those 100 videos. The first few are probably not going to be great, but it's a good way of just getting all of those ideas out, seeing what there is and going, okay, maybe I want to start with this one. And once you've made that, perhaps that sort of snowballs and you get more ideas from it. But just make videos. My advice is just make videos. They're not going to be good to start with. That's just the cold, hard facts of it. They're not going to be good to start with, because it's something that you learn. You learn how to talk in front of a camera. You learn how to edit. You learn how to frame a video correctly so that you're not, all the way over here or whatever it is. And that just comes with time. But if you have the commitment and you have the idea and you have the need to do it, I think it's a brilliant place, because where else, before YouTube was a thing, where else could you share stuff in that way? It wasn't possible. You needed to be on TV to reach millions of people, and now you can do it from your desk. It's brilliant.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad. It's sort of too much responsibility, really.
Exactly what you mean. And how important is an audience? So, for example, what I mean by that is you're booked to do performances at various different events, but the content that you put up on YouTube isn't designed for those clients that have booked you. No. You're not going to get a wedding next week and they've booked you off a wedding because they've watched you talk about the illusionist.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Going to happen, right? But is it possible for somebody who's got no interest in well, I suppose two questions really: is audience important, and if it is it possible for a magician who's got no interest in creating content for the magic community and wants to create content for the general public to increase their bookings? Is it possible?
Yes, I think definitely. I think definitely, because if you look, the content I make, and the same is true for you, is it's magician focused, right? Our audience is, for the vast majority, 90%, maybe even more than that, we're catering to a magician audience. I'm making videos about illusionists. I'm making videos about, look at any of my videos. They're for magicians. They're teaching tricks. And so, yeah, that's one audience. I sort of operate in two worlds, really. When I perform, I'm not performing for magicians. I'm not performing magician fooling tricks. While, although those tricks are very, very good, that's not my intention, is not to fool magicians. I'm there to entertain people. I'm there to make sure they have a good time and have a memorable time. And hopefully I can add something, incredible to the party or the wedding or whatever it is. That's an entirely different world. So when I'm sitting in front of the camera and I'm talking about magic or magic theory or teaching a trick or the latest drama in the magic community or whatever it is, they're two very different things, but both are just as valid. Both audiences are just as valid. One is much bigger in terms of numbers, but one is much more personal, because I'm right there at the side of your table and I'm sharing this, incredible moment of magic. So yes, audience is important, and both are very, very important in their own ways, I think.
That's amazing. Really great advice. And you mentioned content there, so let's talk about content. Your content is very eclectic, and from time to time, less so now than in the earlier days, I think, from binging you. But less so now, but you still put up tutorials, which I think is absolutely fine. And this is obviously something that splits the magic community down the middle. You've got people
It
that
does, yeah.
will lynch you or lynch anybody for putting a video up that is a tutorial, but then you've got other people who would say, like me, who says, hey, YouTube's like a library now. It's the place where people go and learn. A lot of professional magicians got their start in YouTube, and as long as the magic is taught correctly, then there's absolutely no problem with it. It's not really exposure. What's your point of view as somebody who's made tutorial videos, and what's your viewpoint on that? Because it is a really hot topic, isn't it?
Yeah, wow, gosh. I mean, there's almost a 2-hour podcast in that. And trust me, I can and I have spoken about it for hours on end. And sort of briefly, yes, there is really a mob of the angry mob of magicians who are well within their right to have the opinion that tutorials are ruining magic and whatever. I just completely and utterly disagree in the strongest way. Like you say, YouTube is a library, and I think I'd go so far as to say that secrecy is holding magic back in a lot of ways. Now, obviously, secrecy for our audiences is very important, but audiences, anyone that's come across an audience, they don't care how it's done. If it's done right, if the magic is done right, they're not. Yes, they're thinking about how it's done. They're thinking about how impossible it is, but they're not so set on knowing how it's done that they're going to seek out these tutorials. And if they do, the best thing is they might become a magician and they might become the next best magician who advances the art form. So I fail to see how tutorials are bad. It really rattles me. I'm very sort of passionate about it. And I used to be anti-tutorial. This is the thing. I used to be very anti-tutorial. I made videos again that have been privated where I am saying very strongly that I do not think tutorials are good. I think they're killing magic, and I think that, secrecy is the way of protecting the art form. But think of any other art form. Think of music. I often compare magic to music because music is a similar art form in the entertainment sense, but it is centuries ahead of magic. And I really don't see any reason why magic can't catch up or even overtake music in terms of size, in terms of scale, or in terms of innovation. And some people might scoff at that and go, that's utterly ridiculous. But why the hell not? Why can't it be? There's
Mm.
no reason that it can't be. Magic is an absolutely wonderful art form. It's obviously, we think it's the best art form. That's why we're here. But I think a lot of spectators, I'm sort of going off topic here, but I think a lot of spectators perhaps have the opinion that magic can be quite lame and that magic can be quite, archaic. And there's
I
the sort of,
agree. Yeah.
top hats and rabbits and all those sort of cliches. I think some spectators sort of groan when a magician comes at the table. I'm sure you've had it. I'm the magician for the evening. Am I okay to show you a trick? And there will be occasionally someone that goes, oh, I hate magic.
Mhm.
And I think as a community, as an industry, as an art form, we need to understand why that person is thinking that. What magic have they seen that has led them to think that?
Mhm.
And well, it can't have been very good. There are some, just to put it bluntly, there are some bad magicians out there that maybe this person has seen, and they've gone away thinking that all magic is like that. Because every time you perform magic, I think you're representing the art form.
Mhm.
You are the spokesperson for how magic is perceived for that person. So if they see a bad trick and you're telling corny jokes or whatever, and you're coming across as a a sleazeball and a know-it-all or whatever it is, then they're obviously not going to think that it's any good. So I think that this secrecy is actually sort of tied into that archaicism, if that's even a word. And I think that tutorials are only advancing the art form and meaning that we get more magicians and more advancement, more innovation, and it pushes magic further towards, catching up with music. I really do. I think it's all connected. I really do.
And it's good for the industry as well, because more people coming into magic, more magic shops will make money,
Absolutely.
because when you
Absolutely.
get that bug, you can't stop buying magic. It's
Well, yeah, we've all been there. Some of us are still there. Yeah, I definitely. I think that it would be ridiculous for the music industry to suddenly go, nope, too many musicians. Sorry, no more musicians. We're full. Music's full. You know, go look somewhere else. Oh, you wanna learn how to play this song? No, sorry, that's an industry secret. That one. What are you on about? That's utterly ridiculous. That's insane. You know, it would never happen. They'd be the laughing stock of the music industry if anyone came along and said that. It's only because it's magic that it's sort of deemed okay. I don't know. It's really, really odd. I really think it's strange.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. 100%. Um, I don't think you're ever going to change those people's minds, unfortunately.
Well,
But I think
yeah, but
as
I had my mind changed, and so I sort of feel like it is possible. You know, obviously I was very, you know, young when I thought that, and maybe hadn't sort of, you know, developed enough to sort of understand possibly, you know, the reasons against tutorials, which I've heard every reason under the sun, and I sort of accept some of them, definitely. You know, I think that there's a fine line to be crossed, you know, in terms of morally teaching magic, which again is a different subject where you're teaching other people's tricks, or, you know, teaching a public domain trick. Is that okay? Is, you know, teaching an old create? There's all sorts of ifs and buts and small print to go through, but I think in general it is a good thing. Yeah, but you know, I know that some people can't have their mind changed, and they're well within their right to think that, of course.
yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Another thing that I want to talk about in terms of content is outside of the tutorials, you seem to have this uncanny ability, and I mentioned this before, of creating content that just makes people want to watch it, which is honestly the hardest thing I think with YouTube and content creation, which is finding something that you want to speak about, that you feel passionate about, but at the same time knowing what your audience want you to speak about, and and
Mm.
and putting something out that they'll go, oh, I want to see that. Like, I'm just flicking through some of your thumbnails now. What happened to 4MG? The problem with losing $100 magic kit. You know, the magician who broke Penn and Teller Fool Us. The problem with Penn and Teller Fool Us. You know, the truth about magic. You know, have illusionists changed? Just you seem to be like, as I say, it's great content,
Thank you.
really great content, but you seem to quite often put videos out with your take on stuff that's happening in the magic community that a lot of people aren't talking about, or your take on something like magic drama. You know, like a lot of the time, if there's something kicking off in the community to do with drama, which, let's be honest, half the time my name's probably attached to it. Um,
The last few, I think, yeah, maybe.
yeah, normally, unfortunately, I don't know how it happens, but it does. But you're very kind of on it with the video. And one thing that I've always noticed is that you're very reasoned with your approach as well. It's not like a lot of the time when I do my viewpoint videos, I just get angry and shouty and I go, rah, 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 and it
Yeah.
doesn't really achieve anything, to be perfectly honest, other than, you know, get me one step closer to a heart attack. But you're very meticulous, and you're just like, let's look at it from this point of view. Let's look at it from this point of view. This is what I think.
Mm.
Really kind of interesting. So what's your, I suppose the question is, I suppose, threefold. One, how do you get your ideas for videos? And two, what do you kind of think of the state of the magic community as somebody who
Oh.
spends so much time talking about various different things, whether it be illusionist or decks or whatever it may be?
Yeah,
What's
wow.
the state of the magic community, and why do you think so much drama happens? And do you think it's a bad thing, or do you think we need to try and eliminate the drama? I suppose there's a lot of questions there.
Yes, there's a lot of questions. I'll take them one at a time, because that's the only way I can. How do I get my video ideas is a really interesting one, because I honestly don't know. I just sort of, my formula, if you can call it a formula, is write down every idea I get, even if it's bad, because the bad ideas are sometimes the ones that you end up making because they're bad. You sort of focus on them and you want to work at them. And I
Mm.
sort of work at every idea I have. I think, okay, if I were going to make this video, what would that look like? Like what would the premise be? What would the sort of narrative be? How am I going to approach this? If there's a magic drama happening, you know, I don't make videos about every magic drama, but I certainly plan out videos about every magic drama. And I sort of pick and choose the ones that I really feel I actually have something to say about. I don't just want to sort of sit there and read the headlines, even though I call the series Magic News. I don't want it to just be here's a list of the facts, because you can get that anywhere. You can get that just by your own common sense, just looking at what's happened. So I only ever make a video if I feel I actually have an input. And I
Mm.
always sort of think, if the person involved in the magic drama were to see this video, what would they think?
Mm.
Am I being fair? Am I being balanced? Am I being a little bit too harsh? I think there are some videos, actually, I've taken down a couple where I think maybe I have been a bit too harsh, and I've sort of watched it back and gone, don't know if I'm saying the right thing here. I've got to be very, very careful about what I say. Each video I spend a lot of time on, really. That I can't. I've tried in the past to make videos once a day, and I just can't because the quality. I'm very much a perfectionist, and I just can't sit there and watch a video back and go, it's okay, so I'll publish it. It's got to be right. I've got to know exactly what I'm saying going into it. And not to say that I script it, but I certainly make bullet points just to keep in the back of my mind. Here's what I'm generally trying to get at. I've scripted videos word for word in the past, and I've sort of ended up with the opposite result, where it's too polished, it's
Mm.
too clean. I like it to be a bit sort of rough around the edges. And I like to allow myself to make the odd joke that I just think of in the moment. And
Yeah.
maybe it makes it in the edit, maybe it doesn't. But just having a little bit of unscriptedness, I think it goes a long way to making it feel a lot more human. So yeah, that's sort of the video idea side of it. As for the state of the magic industry, I I think we all sort of sometimes feel a bit helpless with it, where we look at it and we go, what is going on here? What are we fighting about this time? Why can't we just sort of get along? I think the internet sort of is to blame for some of it, because the internet has provided a good sort of mask for a lot of people, and I think it has given a lot of people a good excuse to hate other people because they disagree with them. And I think it's okay to disagree with someone completely and still respect the way they've said it, or the style of the video in which they've said it. Or, you can still be a fan of a creator and go, you know what? I really disagree with that video, but I'm still going to watch them because I still appreciate their other opinions. I think a lot of the time people have a very snap judgment of, you've made a video I don't like, therefore I'm unsubscribing and I'm never watching you again. I get that comment a lot because I'm talking about often controversial, divisive things. People will go in the comments, I used to be a fan, I used to be a subscriber, whatever, but I disagree with this, so I'm never watching you again. And it's like, well, what about all the other things I've said? Like, what happened to that? But that's been thrown out the window. One thing you disagree with me on, and suddenly it's, I'm exactly the same person as I was when you watch those videos, but you find out one new thing, and suddenly you hate me. It's like, well, I don't think that's a normal reaction, really. If it wasn't the internet, if we were in a room talking to each other and you stormed out because one thing I said, it'd be like, oh, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's weird behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. But it can happen on YouTube an awful lot. I've seen it happen on my channel. A friend of mine is a motivational speaker. His name's Brad Burton, and he said to me, I went to him with this because I was quite conflicted. I was like, oh my God, all these people are saying that I've said the wrong thing. And Brad said, make a list of all the reasons people like you, follow you, and watch your channel.
Yeah,
And then make a list of all the reasons people don't like you, don't follow you, and don't watch your channel, and you'll find it's the same list.
exactly.
By
Yeah.
trying to appease the people who don't want to watch you, you're going to alienate the people that do watch you. So just be true to yourself and just, be you.
Yeah.
And if people
Yeah.
buy into that, then fair play.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think you sort of, well, I'm speaking for myself here, but you sort of can't help but put on a slight character on YouTube. I don't know if character is even the right word, but obviously I'm not how I am all the time in when I'm on YouTube, because that would be insufferable. I'm very energetic on camera, and I'm very sort of, like I'm being now. I'm being slightly performative. I'm not performing, but
Yeah.
I'm heightening myself. And I think maybe that plays into it, that you sort of come across as very passionate about these things. And I've got very passionate in videos, and I know you have magic rants, of course. You get, but that's because you're in front of the camera, and it is slightly performative. You want
Yeah.
to get your point across in the best way possible, and some people take that as, oh, this is the core of your personality. This is everything you stand for. Well, no, it's just one opinion you have. It's not the be all and end all of who I am.
The amount of people, Cavan, that have turned around to me and said, at a convention, I didn't think I liked you, but having met you in person, actually I do. I'm like, what, did you expect me to come into the room and start going right? It's a character that you play in many ways. I completely agree with you 100%.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
So what's been in your opinion, out of everything that all the videos that you've made about the magic drama and your opinions on the various magic community stuff, what's been the most ridiculous thing that's happened in the last couple of years or the last few years? Because you've spoken about illusionist, you've spoken about so many different things. I very much like your illusionist videos because they're so balanced. They really are. And
yeah. Well,
yeah,
the way I see the illusionist videos, again, I'm going to talk about Lego. This is about the fourth mention Lego's got, but I am a fan of Lego, and so I sort of like to compare it. But I follow a YouTuber who makes videos about Lego, and they are very critical of the Lego company. They are very critical of decisions that the Lego company makes, of even minor things, that is comparable to minor things that we talk about in magic. At the end of the day, it's magic tricks, right? And that's sort of the thing I've said in videos sometimes. It's magic tricks. Isn't it wonderful that we can sit in front of a camera and complain about minutia of magic tricks? Isn't that incredible? Doesn't that mean that we love it that much? I think that is only a demonstration of just how fantastic we like magic, because we can complain about the little things and it means so much to us. It means so much. You see it in the comments. It means a lot to people. And so I compare it to this Lego YouTuber because they are very critical of the Lego company, of the decisions, whatever. But ultimately, they're a Lego fan, right? And behind them, they've got thousands of dollars of Lego sets that they've built over the years, and they continue to make videos about Lego and buy Lego sets, but they're critical of the company. I sort of see me doing that to Illusionist in the same way that I love Magic, and I'm prepared to say I love Illusionist as a company of what they stand for, and they've come up with some brilliant things, but I'm not going to sit here and say that they're perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say that everything they've done is fantastic, because it's just not. And that'd be unfair. I don't think there's a magic company out there that have got everything right. They've made some atrocious stuff. They've made some ridiculous decisions. They've treated their customers appallingly in the past. All of those things are still true. And also, I like the company. Both things are true. And that's just the way it is. It's like they can both coexist, both of those things. I believe in both of those things. So yeah, the illusionist videos, I try and be, fair and balanced, because that is honestly just sort of how I see it. I see both sides of it.
that's great. That's really, really good. Now, I want to ask you. I want to go in a slightly different direction, because obviously we mentioned this earlier on. I want to talk more about it. You off the back of your YouTube channel, you have a card company, you have a membership. When I want to find out all about those, but what led to you making this decision? You know what? Well, suppose what came first, the card company or the membership? And what made you kind of go in that direction? What made you say, well, okay, I've got this YouTube channel, I'm creating content, I love videography, I love magic. This is giving me a place where I can deliver output. But now I'm going to take this to its next logical step, and I'm going to, which is a smart thing to do, by the way, for any YouTuber that has a following and a brand. But where were you where you kind of made that decision? When was the time right to do that? What was your thought process going into it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I again sort of ties back to, when I was making dribs and drabs. Is that a phrase? I don't know. Dribs and drabs. Is that a thing? Dribs and drabs?
I think so.
It sounds like a phrase. When I was making little bits of money here and there, I've lost my train of thought now. No, when I was making little bits of money here and there, I sort of thought, this is cool, and I'll see how else I can make money, because money is sort of the thing that you need to put food on the table and so on. And even when I was living at my parents', it was like, well, more money equals more magic. That was the way I sort of thought of it back then, which is a great way of thinking of it.
Mm.
I didn't have to worry about rent or anything like that. It's just, I can buy new magic tricks. Brilliant. Or Lego sets. Tally the number of times I talk about Lego in this video. But yeah, so I sort of looked into ways of doing it, and this thing called Patreon was there, and I was like, oh, I'll set up a Patreon, literally $1 tier. People can get some extra videos that I've got all the time in the world to make, just the odd little behind the scenes or stuff that I cut out of videos or whatever it was, just little extra stuff. And then gradually I was like, actually, this is a great way of me teaching tricks because, I'm anti-tutorial at the time, but I can teach the occasional trick on here. And so it sort of developed into, again, a magic membership where, you pay the entry fee and you learn the tricks, and the $1 turned into $5 because the material I thought was good enough, and $5 is still a reasonable price. And it sort of snowballed from there. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this thing needs a bit of branding. So rather than it just being Cavan Booth's Patreon page, I'll give it a nice name. And the magician.club, the web address was free. So I nabbed that. And it was the Magician Club. And so, yeah, so I just called it the Magician Club. And very recently, actually, literally in the past couple of weeks, I've now removed my name from it entirely. So it's no longer Cavan Booth is creating the Magician Club. It's now just the Magician Club is creating a membership for magicians, because the idea is hopefully people will come across it and they don't know who I am. It's not tied to me anymore. There's not my face on it. It's just the Magician Club, and anyone can enter, because I slowly started to realize over the past couple of months that people were stumbling across it who have no idea who I am, who've just stumbled across the Magician Club and thought, that sounds fun. There's a lot of great tricks on here. I want to join, but I don't know who Cavan Booth is. So that was sort of putting people off weirdly. So I've had to like
Wow.
depersonalize it and just sort of turn it into the Magician Club. It's still exactly the same as it was. It's still, run by me, but it's sort of allowed me to have this, I don't know, this sort of brand, I guess, which is almost separate to me, which I quite like.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what I suppose one question I've got is, you're obviously a very creative person. For just looking at the content you produce, the tutorials, everything that goes on in the Magician Club. Have you ever had a desire or wanted to actually release something through a magic company, like a Penguin or a Murphy's or an illusionist or something? Is that something
Yeah,
that
I've never been asked that, believe it or not. I've never been asked that. Gosh, it's not even something I really think about. I've always done it so independently. If I've released a trick through my website or put a trick on the membership, it's always just felt like, yeah, I've got the control over that. I know where that's going. I know who it's going to, and I've never sort of had the need to have a gimmick manufactured in a way that I can't do myself or can't outsource to a company that I know exactly how it's going to be done, how it's going to be printed or put together. I've occasionally handcrafted gimmicks and stuff. So again, I'm very much like, it's me doing it and I know what's being done there. But, I've got so many ideas for gimmicks that I can't make and I don't know how to make. And I would be interested in pitching to magic companies, but I just sort of, I've never really thought about it, but it's definitely something I would consider. I'm not against it, obviously. I love
well,
magic companies.
well, because you're the perfect, having worked with a lot of magic companies, and I know what they're looking for. And one thing they're looking for is people that are creative, people that have a built-in audience. Because the thing that happens a lot within the magic community is you'll have a creator who'll go and, I don't know, release something with a Penguin Magic, for example, and then get annoyed when they release it and it doesn't sell very well. And it's because they expected Penguin to do all of the hard work for them,
Right, yes.
and they didn't want to, whilst for a magic company, one of the big things for them is that they work with people that have got a built-in audience.
Mm.
Because then you can leverage that audience and you can say, well, you know what, I've got this trick, it's coming out through Murphy's Magic, and it's going to be available on so and so date, and you can do videos and performances and so on it. You'd be the perfect candidate for most magic companies. You really
Yeah,
would.
yeah, I've never thought about it. I mean, I've I think I've pitched a trick to Illusionist a long time ago that was for an idea for an app that I had. That again, I pitched it. Nothing came of it because obviously they get a lot of submissions. And you know, again, as soon as that happened, I started to take it into my own hands and go, okay, well, let's research developers and see how I can do this. And do I want to do a Kickstarter? You know, I'm always, I don't know, I'm always trying to do it myself, but I that's not from a place of like selfishness or you know, being a control freak or anything like that. It's just I genuinely enjoy the process of making it, of doing it, of whatever it is, constructing the gimmick, filming the tutorial, posting it myself. And the Magician Club has sort of allowed me to do that because it's become this thing that like it started out as just a Patreon page and it's still on Patreon. And you know, people join, you know, every week and it's like I don't know. I get something from that that's just great. And even if the income was the same through Penguin or Illusionist or whatever, I don't know if I'd feel it was as personal. You know,
Mm.
it's hard to explain. I'm really sort of struggling to put it into words, but hopefully that sort of makes sense. That I like it being in my sphere, I guess. But I'm open to the idea of doing it with
But
companies, definitely.
when you work with another company, you have to accept that, you know, it's no longer your baby. You have, you know, I've had to take, you know, I've created something, and I've had to end up changing it around for a variety of different reasons because of the company I'm dealing with. So I understand where you're coming from because it's suddenly not all of the decision making is left in your hands. You have to involve other people, which can be very frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, well, it does make me sound like a control freak, but I'm definitely not. That really did sound like I'm sort of like, no, I want to do it. But
No,
no, I'm
I
definitely
think
open
it's
to it.
important to be, you know, to be passionate about something that you've created and wanting it done the right way, and you created it, so therefore you would know what the right way is more than anyone else.
Yeah, yeah, and I think memberships and sort of the individual paths, like the individual creators being their own marketplace for getting tricks, is sort of the way that the magic industry has been going for quite a while. Is moving away from these massive companies and actually every magician now can have their own outlet of releasing tricks. You know, you've got Lloyd Barnes, you've got yourself, you've got Christian Grace, you've got all these you know, Ollie Mealing, who've got their own membership, their own way of delivering magic. So if you're a fan of that creator, if you respect their work, you can just hone in on them. You don't have to sort of go through these big filters of companies or whatever. But again, you know, if you want to have a gimmick professionally produced, then you need the backing of these big companies that have been doing it for years, bossing it for years. They know how to produce gimmicks that you just never could on your own. Which, you know, and these gimmicks are such staples in so many repertoires. Those companies are not going to go away, and I don't think they should. But I like having again that sort of individual option.
Mm, that totally makes sense. And if people want to join, it's magician.club.
Yeah, themagician.club. Yeah. And it's $5 and oh, it starts at $5. And yeah, there's a load of tricks on there. If you sign up to the $15 tier, I think there's like 120 items now that you can get.
Wow.
So I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, so it's like a whole back catalog of so many ideas. So and stuff that I perform professionally. So I love it.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. And off the back of that, can we talk about playing cards as well? Because
Yes, of course, yeah. Oh,
obviously,
but hold on, decks are dead, Craig.
well,
Decks are dead. The card
according to
industry's
Gareth, it is.
dead.
Yes, yes.
We're all dancing on the
Um,
grave of it.
Ironically, I was with another magic company when that blog was put out by Illusion. I'm not going to say who the other magic company was, and they were laughing about this blog post because they were like, "Hang on a minute, we release decks all the time, and they're selling great, you know."
Yeah.
So,
Well, the irony was that as they put that out, they had Unreal Card Magic on Kickstarter, and one of the rewards for that was a deck of cards. So it made no sense in every single way. And again, it was one of those weird illusionist things that's like, you're a great company, but what the hell are you doing saying that? It makes no sense. So I really enjoyed making that video because I just had so much ammunition. Every line in that blog post was just another falsity to sort of pick apart. So yeah, sorry. Anyway,
No, no, you're
I've
right.
gone off piece there, but
No, you're right. It was crazy, but I think that Illusionist with a company that made specialty decks popular.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, the Black Tigers and the
oh,
Ghosts and
yeah,
all those wonderful decks that came out back in the day. And since then, I think that Theory 11 have taken their mantle a little bit in terms of they're probably
definitely.
premium specialty deck designers. But now everybody and their mother are bringing out specialty decks. You know, you've got from big companies like Penguin seem to be releasing one every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like they bring new and it, like, I'll be honest with you, it's never been anything that's interested me. If I go out to a gig, I grab a bicycle rider deck, I chuck it in the bin when I finish because half of them have been signed or ripped up or something.
Yeah.
But my son, Ryland, he's got a huge collection of decks. He's like, oh, I want to get this deck of cards for 35 quid. And I'm like, why? It's going to sit on your shelf and you're not even going to open it. He's like, yeah, that's the point. You don't open them. I'm like, Ryland, that makes no sense whatsoever. But
Oh
apparently,
yeah. Well, I know where that's coming from.
and I don't know, maybe I think actually because so many people are bringing out decks these days. You know, Pig Cake has just brought out his decks a few weeks ago, and so what made you decide to go into the playing card markets, and you know where did that all come from? I suppose.
I well, I saw everyone making these decks, and it was very much just, I want a piece of that. I
Mhm.
want to do that. These decks, I collect them. I love them. I use them in performance. These fancy decks, some of them you can't quite get away with because spectators do go, "What the hell is that? Is that even a deck of cards?" But there are some that you can get away with in performance, and people go, "That's a nice deck." It's like, yeah, and I think it shows like you've kind of made an effort. Like, yeah, I'm bringing my fancy playing cards, for this one. But if you want to get them signed and torn up, whatever, you can bring out your bicycle deck of cards. Good excuse for a deck switch as well, because you can go, for this one, we need a card ripped up, so I don't want to use my fancy deck. We're going to use the cheap one, and people accept it. So it's the easiest deck switch. There you go. That's a little tutorial for you.
Cool. Never thought that. That's great.
Yeah, that is literally something that I use quite often to switch in a gimmick or whatever. But I think they're great, and so I just thought, I want to do a deck of cards. What ideas have I got? And again, I wrote down a load of ideas, and one of them stood out. And I was like, dystopia. That's a cool theme. I wonder if that has been done in the way that I want it to be done, and it hadn't. And so I was like, okay, well, let's make a deck of cards with something really sort of bad on it. Let's make a deck of cards with a watchtower on, and the border can be a literal border. It can be barbed wire. It's like that is instantly different, and make it in blood red, have the ace of spades covered in graffiti, all of these ideas. And it was like, this is a deck of cards right here that I need to make. And so I had this designer friend of mine who'd sort of made me a custom court card in the past, turned me into the Jack of Diamonds. And I thought, I'll message this guy, Arya, by the way. Go and follow Arya on everything. He's great. And we made this deck of cards together, put it on Kickstarter, and it nearly didn't fund. It funded on the final day. It couldn't have been any closer. It was to the penny. So luckily we sort of did it, and from that there was like a second one and a third one, and yeah, great fun. I sort of loved doing it, and I will still do it. I'm sure there'll be many decks to come, definitely.
Kind of a built-in market for them now, isn't there? Like, there's people out there that will just collect decks
Yeah, non-magicians, people who just collect playing cards. They're not particularly interested in magic or even cardistry. They're like stamp collecting. It's just a thing in itself now. Card collecting is a whole industry in and of itself, completely separate from magic, which is great.
It is. It's awesome. As I say, I'm never going to be that card collector, but my son is. We've got every specialty deck in the world and then some. But yeah, it's cool. So here's a question for you. You mentioned at the very beginning that obviously you do a 9 to 5 job, and I can tell that you love videography. You wouldn't have gone to university and studied videography and then got a job doing videography if you didn't.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a point where your card company, you know, is here, and your membership is here, and your gigs that you're doing are here, and your
And my YouTube channel is here.
yeah, exactly. And you kind of go, well, something's got to give. I either have to slow down or not put as much effort into this if I'm going to carry on doing this. What gives at that point? Because there's a lot of people out there that and there's I've spoken about this on my channel quite a lot, where for a lot of people it's the holy grail to become. I want to become a full-time pro, make all my living from magic. That's not necessarily the best thing in the world, because the second you become a full-time pro,
then it's your job.
Then it's your
then
job.
it's not just the fun hobby that you do at the
Mhm.
weekends or
And
whatever, and you practice in your bedroom. It's like, oh, I actually need to put my foot down and turn this into the cold hard, grind sort of
And I
thing. I
have
know what you're
made
saying.
sacrifices. I've made sacrifices. I have gone against what I would want to do. Like, I've gone and done tricks that I would never perform, that I don't particularly like, just because I know it's going to get the reaction in that particular environment. I've gone out and performed in places I don't want to perform. Cold nights in the old days, walking around with my hands freezing, unable to do sleight of hand. But it's what you got to do to pay the bills, And you when you become a pro, I think it's that old expression, isn't it? A pro will do the same 10 tricks over and over again because they know. Yeah. And I think you suddenly it's no longer a hobby. It's no longer something that you can afford to just sit back and learn new stuff. So I think that becoming a pro isn't necessarily always the best thing in the world. It can be, but it's not always the best thing in the world. And I think that one thing that shone through in this interview with you is that you love magic.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's evident to anyone, hopefully. In terms of what gives, well, first of all, I mean, performing, I do love, even on, like you say, the cold winter nights, which we're definitely in at the moment, where I need my hand warmer or so, I need something because it is grueling, and walking half an hour through grim, no offense to Yorkshire, but grim Yorkshire streets, it's just the first thing that comes to mind. Rain is hammering down and I've got my bag of magic and I'm thinking, how have I ended up here?
Yeah.
What's going on? But at the end of the day, you get to perform magic. You get to perform magic for people who maybe they love it, maybe they don't. You get some audiences, we've all had them, tough crowd. The last thing they want is a magician at the event, but there you are and you do it. And yeah, it's hard, but there are worse ways to earn money, definitely. And magic is just the best. So yeah, I can't see that giving or going any time in place of videography. But if something had to give, it would be the playing cards. It just would. It just mathematically, it makes the most sense. It doesn't earn me money really. We're in the final stages of this Kickstarter that's just funded not too long ago. We're in the spreadsheet phase of putting everything together, and hopefully the decks will be printed at the end of the week. So we're in that phase now where we're looking at the total profit going, I make more money in one magic gig than I have from this Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
Why have I put so much effort into it? But I love playing cards. I love making them. But it's a fraction of a magic gig sometimes. Even though the funding total says £3,000, whatever, well, 1,000 of that you lose because so many backers are dropped out, and then the other 2,000 you have to spend on making the actual cards and paying the designer and all that, printing and packaging and posting. There's so many costs that go into it. So at the end, you're left with this, and you go, great, that'll go some way to pay for absolutely nothing. But you end up with a deck of cards that is yours, and you get to see other people all around the world in however many countries using your cards that you've designed, and that is sort of payment more than any money could give you. I mean that really sincerely. I know that sounds sort of sarcastic or fantastical, but it's true.
Not at all. And have you ever considered doing lectures? Because people are booking lectures more and more. Live lectures are becoming really popular, and as somebody who's created so much magic in their membership, and you could I know so many people would want to book you to do a lecture, and you'd come along and lecture on the stuff, and you don't have physical products, so that's not a problem, because you could sell your membership off the back of it and say, hey, everything I've taught today is on my membership. You can sign up right now.
Yeah.
Which is what I do with the Netrix. Like, have you ever considered like lecturing? Because I don't, unless I'm being stupid, I don't think I've ever seen you do
No. No, I've done 2 in my entire life, and one was unpaid. And the other I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah, for the I think I was about 15 for the Bradford Magic Circle. They again found my YouTube channel and they go, "Yeah, you can do a lecture." So I was there. I think the month before Daniel Madison was lecturing at the same place. They got me, a little 15-year-old me, teaching, just the most sort of basic. Actually, I say teaching the most basic tricks. One of the tricks I taught, I did perform at my last gig, so it can't have been that bad. But I was just, standing there, no idea, no plan, no idea what I was doing, fumbling my way through this lecture. I'd quite like to watch it back, actually, because I know it is on camera somewhere, and it was, yeah, it was bad. But I would love to do it now because I've done pre-recorded for the membership, basically a lecture, which is me sort of going through a lot of different material. So I'd absolutely love to do that. It's just, again, I've never really thought of it. It's just something I've not really considered. I did get contacted by one magic group, but nothing came of it. And again, I've got a lot of material to pick from. So who knows?
I'd love to see that. I really would. So what goals have you? You've achieved a lot. We're talking about you lecturing at 15. With
That
great,
sounds good, actually. I might put that on the website. It sounds good when I hear it out loud. Yeah.
lecturing at 15. You've got your own brand of cards. You've got a very successful membership, very successful YouTube channel, very well known within the industry. You've achieved an awful lot, despite not being as like I people know you through YouTube, but I've never seen you around at like somewhere like the Blackpool Magic Convention, for example. I don't know if
Yeah, I mean, I've been a few years in a row. I didn't go to the last one because I was in Portugal. The weather was a little nicer in Portugal than in Blackpool, believe it or not, in February. So I didn't mind that too much. But I'll go next year, definitely, possibly for more than one day because I've not done that in a very long time. I like magic conventions. I went to a card convention not long ago in London called Shuffle Up. And I love being around other magicians because it's not something that magic's very solitary. It's not something that many of us get to do that often because we're just doing our own thing a lot of the time. I don't have any magic friends that I see on a regular basis. So yeah, sorry, what was your question? I've completely
no.
completely forgotten.
Is
I'm waffling. Tangent is my middle
this
name, so
this is amazing. I'm finding so much out about you. What goals have you got? I can tell you're very goal driven.
What goals have I got?
What goals? What aspirations? Is there something specifically on your magical bucket list that you want to achieve, or are you just happy with the way things are going and you want to continue to grow in all aspects? Like,
Yeah, well, lots of things. Lots of things. I sort of there's so many things that I want to achieve in magic. I want to have my own magic show that people come and see me do magic rather than I am an addition to an event. That is always, I think, every magician's dream basically is the audience are here to see you. You've got them already. You've got their attention. There's no interrupting, interjecting, or awkwardly coming out on stage and, "Oh, who's this guy?" They're there to see you, and so you've got all this time. And I think I'm much better in that environment. When I was performing on stage at my college or my school, in talent shows or whatever, that was where I thrived because it's like, oh, there's a captive audience here. I can take my time, I can have fun. For me, 75%, if not more, of what I do is just the entertainment. It's not really the magic. It's just having fun and improv with the audience a little bit. And that's what I find so fun. So to sort of be in that setting, have a magic show where I can tell stories or create an immersive. I was working on this magic show. It's no secret now because it's not really sort of happened. That was like an escape room magic show. I just thought, I love escape rooms. I love magic shows. What would happen if they were both at the same time? What if the audience were in an escape room environment where they're having to solve puzzles and get out before the timer goes off, but also the person leading them through that is a magician who, as they're solving the puzzles, is showing them these impossible things. I just thought that was a great idea. Nobody steal that. And so I was working on that for a while, and I never really found the way of turning it into a real thing, and I never really found a satisfying, like, thing that it would sort of come to. But that's one goal, but I've got hundreds that I won't bore you with.
Wow. Like I said, you are very, very goal driven. You really are. And could you ever see a point where you stop doing YouTube, or is that something that you're going to carry on doing? Because it's worth talking about this actually. The one thing that I see so many content creators doing is burning out and just stopping their YouTube channel, and not just in magic, but in every aspect.
Oh yeah.
Like Adam Wilber from Vulpine, obviously everyone knows Adam Wilber. He recently just stopped doing his YouTube channel, and I spoke to him about it, and he was putting some really smart content on there, and he just said, yeah, I just had enough. And I suppose the question is, have you ever experienced creator burnout as a content creator? Is it something that how, and if you have, how did you deal with it, I suppose is the...
Yeah, well, I think everyone's experienced it. Well, I don't know. Have you experienced it? I imagine so.
Yeah, I'll be honest. A little while ago, when it was during one of the controversies that seem to surround me every couple of months. During one of them, it was just like what
I imagine that. Yeah, I imagine that is
I was just like,
draining.
why am I doing this? What's my reason for? Because one of the things I do that I don't think you do is I review magic, and you literally can't win,
Mm,
because if you give something a good review, it's you're biased, and oh, you're giving it a good review because they're a friend. If you give something a bad review, you're biased because you don't like the guy, and so you're giving it a bad review. Um, and it's kind of like, why am I spending money buying all of these tricks? Just and it got to a point where I was sitting in front of a camera one day, and I was like, what am I doing with myself? I've got other things that I could be doing, and I very came close to stopping doing it, and I ended up not. And I'm in a much better place now, and this was about a year ago. But yeah, it was a period of time where I was just like, why am I bothering? What's the point? Because I think YouTube is a passion project, for everyone who thinks you can make a fortune. Well, it's possible. I'm sure that, you could be the next Mr. Beast. You absolutely could be the next Mr. Beast. But in
mm.
reality, it's unlikely.
Yeah, you might get a sore throat with all the shouting, but you
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
I mean, I've experienced burnout. Definitely. When I first moved to uni, um, I I live in Manchester, still live in Manchester. I lived in Manchester at the time, and I was going to uni in, well, I won't say the place because it'll say the uni, and this doesn't look good on the uni. So I was going down south somewhere, and I hated it. As soon as I got there, studying film production, I absolutely hated it. And this is like day one. I was thinking, why? You put your bags down on the dorm room floor, and you look around and you go, why am I here? Like, I am cut off. I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's not a city, it's like a campus uni. And outside of that bubble, outside of that campus, there's nothing at all. And I was like, this is really scary and isolating. I need something to do. I need someone to talk to. I'm not the sort of person that, is sociable and talks to people down the hall. So I was literally in this bedroom with the door shut, listening to everyone in the kitchen talking and thinking, I can't get out of this room. I am absolutely sort of crushed. And,
Mm.
with that comes a lot of sort of baggage and drainage in itself emotionally. And I just thought, I don't want to do the things I enjoy. I don't want to to shuffle a pack of cards. I don't want to learn a magic trick. I don't want to film a video. And so that was sort of weird. Because it used to be something that I relied on and I did, and it was brilliant. And so I dropped out of uni. I quit 5 days into it. I just thought, this is not the place for me. This is everything that I am scared of and hate. And so I dropped out of uni 5 days in, moved back to Manchester, took a gap year, and then studied somewhere else, film production at a different uni, Uni of Salford. I'm very happy to say was very, very good, and I graduated this summer. But you go through those patches because YouTube is not a separate thing to your life. It's still you. It's still your personality in front of the camera. And in order to have the energy in front of the camera, you've got to have a bit of life, a bit of something, a bit of willpower to do it and to sit there and edit it for hours on end and to put all the time into every element of the video. You've got to have a bit of drive. And if you're lacking that in your other parts of your life, it seeps over, it spills over into YouTube, into magic, into whatever. So yeah, it's sort of, like I say, everything's connected, and that was my burnout. But I quickly recovered from it, I'm glad to say.
Oh man, I can imagine that would have been a very awkward situation. Yeah, I wouldn't like that at all. Before we finish, I want to ask you, for people that are watching this video that have never seen you before, and they've decided they like you and they want to watch more of your stuff like I have, what 3 videos would you say that they should watch to get an idea of your content?
Oh,
and
gosh.
make sure that those videos are linked in the description down below.
What 3 videos? Goodness me, that is a real question, that, isn't it?
Difficult, isn't it? Because how do you choose? You love them all as they wouldn't.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think there's some obvious ones that jump to mind. For a while, I was known as like the Blackpool Magic Convention kid because I was the kid who went around Blackpool with a camera and vlogged it, and the videos did really well. That was the first thing that sort of boosted my YouTube channel. But I don't really do that anymore, so I'm not going to say those. So I don't know why I mentioned it. But my most popular video is it's quite old now and I look different and sound different, but it's moving hole punch. It's a trick where I move a hole on a card and it got more than 1 million views. So I sort of think that is like the staple hole punch video that is sort of associated with me. I'll say that, even though I'm not a huge fan of the video, there's a lot wrong with it. But I'll say that, and I'll say I did a tutorial recently for moving volume bar on a pair of headphones that I was quite proud of.
That was great. That was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That one I quite like. It's a neat idea, just a weird sort of concept that you can do. And and just a random video that comes to mind. One of my favorites actually is called the self-changing card or something to that effect, how to make the self-changing card. And it's a neat idea that I later learned, unfortunately, is actually an existing concept by Lloyd Barnes, who messaged me and said, hey, this is actually a thing. And so I was like, oh, I'll take down the video. I'm so sorry, because that's just the moral thing to do. And then he was like, oh, well, no, actually, you can keep the video up because it's a good video. So that I sort of I like, because it is an original creation that I just came up with by myself, and it's something I perform, and I genuinely love the idea. But then to find out that a great mind in magic has come up with the same thing is sort of like, oh, that's cool. And also, he's let me keep the video up, which is very nice. So yeah, I'll say that one.
Spoken to Lloyd about you, and he's a huge fan.
Oh, thank you. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I likewise. Lloyd is great. I weirdly, I don't really watch magicians on YouTube. I make the odd exception now and again if a video really attracts me. But if you look through my YouTube subscriptions, there's like hardly any magicians there. I try not to, because I think if you're watching so much magic and magic YouTubers, you sort of become a copy of those. I went through a phase where I was like a huge fan of Daniel Madison at the time, and I watched all his videos. And then I realized, completely unconsciously, my videos were starting to be like his. And I thought, this isn't true to my style. I'm sort of accidentally copying this other YouTuber. And so I had to just cut myself off, even though I enjoyed his content and really sort of loved his persona and everything. I was like, no, I've got to stop watching his stuff because I don't want to become a copy of that. I want to be my own thing. I want to talk my own way and dress my own way and all those things that sort of make up your persona. I think I had to cut myself off from magic YouTube in a way and just sort of find who I was before I could then start to enjoy other content. So it's only really recently that I've started to get back into watching content like Magic TV and Lloyd Barnes and all, all these channels. It's like there's good stuff there, but you can't watch too much of it, I don't think, because
you're right.
you replicate it a bit.
Well, that brings us to maybe one final question, which is when you perform, people talk all the time about finding your character and finding your voice and being unique and not just, becoming the next Jay Sankey or the next Greg Wilson or the next Bill Malone, but becoming the first version of you.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And you could say that advice is equally as important for a YouTuber.
Oh, definitely.
So how would you, for people, again, that are watching this, that are thinking, you know what, I want to start my own YouTube channel. How do you find your own voice? How do you, what process do you go through to do that?
Well, I think it's okay to use other people as a springboard initially. When I started out, the reason I started YouTube, I think it's important that it gets a mention at some point in this video. The reason I started YouTube was a brilliant YouTuber who has now just gone on to extreme heights since doing card counting. Some people will know who it is, Stephen Bridges. When he was doing his magic stuff back in the day, such a inspiration. I mean, literally the reason I did it. But what I started out doing when I started YouTube was essentially recreating his videos. I'm just going to be perfectly honest. I was 13, whatever. I saw him doing card through banknote. I thought, I'll do card through banknote. But to spice it up a bit, I'll also do pen through banknote. So it's completely original then. It's completely different if I had that in the mix. And that was how I started, was essentially doing an impression of Stephen Bridges. And again, it happened later with Daniel Madison when I got into his content. And so that's sort of how I found my footing, was sort of experimenting around with, what if I'm more like this person? What if I'm more like this person? And then eventually, once I'd cut myself off from all of that, just going, actually, I think I'm starting to find me. I think I'm starting to find what sort of makes me me. But to do that from day one, it's not impossible, I don't think. I think there's lots of people who do it, but I certainly didn't. So I can't really be the voice of reason when it comes to that. And also, I think when it comes to YouTube and performing, I think I'm still finding who I am. I made a video on my membership very recently talking about character, and in that I say very openly, I'm still finding mine. I don't know 100% who my character is because I'm still learning so much about me as an actual person. It's hard to just invent a character to perform magic as. I think it's a journey that I'll continue to go on. I'm only young. I'm only 22, so it's a lot of time to go before. Yeah, there's never a finished product, I don't think.
No, I completely agree with you. And I know I keep saying one last question, but
That's okay. No,
I'm thinking of stuff. It's genuinely, this has been an amazing interview. If you talked about one of your goals being having your own show. Let's just say that an agent knocked on your door tomorrow and said, "Hey, Cavan, we'd like you to star in your own show in the West End, 7 nights a week, blah, 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 blah. But you're going to have to put 100% effort into that. You're not going to be able to do the YouTube channel or anything else anymore. You're not going to be able to create content on YouTube because all your effort's going to have to go into that." Would that be okay to you? Like how important is performing versus content creation? Because I can tell that you love both of them equally.
I think I'd take that opportunity in a heartbeat. I don't think I'd think twice, honestly. And that's no disrespect to the viewers or the clients, whatever it is. Like, that's no disrespect to anyone. It's just there would be a new audience there who I would have to equally give just as much effort to. And God, I'd love to do that. I mean, I'd kill for that. It'd be brilliant. Yeah.
In a different way, you mentioned him. That's kind of what Stephen Bridges did. He
completely reinvented. Yeah.
stepped away from YouTube, had this incredible opportunity, needed to put all of his time and effort into it, and has now come back to YouTube. But like you said, completely reinvented himself and yeah, gone in a completely different direction.
Yeah, and it's paid off more than I think he would think, you know, as a sort of long-term viewer from his old Magic content to this new stuff. It's still him. It's still so him. The style of the videos, the way he is as a person is obviously he's got his character, you know, character, and he knows who he is, and yet the content is so different. So, you know, if the agent knocked on the door and said, West End show, Cavan, I'd go, hell yeah. Hell yeah. You know, it would translate perfectly. And what an opportunity. Yeah, I'd love that. God. If any agents are watching.
I'll put a good word in for you.
With the West End, yeah.
Yeah, I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been a really fun interview. It's been really fun finding out more about you because you do. I don't know if it's just that I've watched the wrong videos, but there's a certain secrecy around you. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that even though I've watched so many of your videos, like until you just said Manchester, I didn't really know where you lived.
Well, I
Really
don't sound like I'm from Manchester, do I?
Oh,
Everyone
you don't.
says that.
No, not in a million years.
No.
I wouldn't
Apart
have
from the
said
fact I say
Manchester.
grass and bath. If I said grass and bath, it wouldn't sound that weird. It would be like, oh yeah, that's just the way he talks. But yeah, no, I don't share me very much on the channel. That's something I'm actually trying to change because I think there's a lot of things I don't talk about that maybe I should talk about, and that I think is going to be the sort of journey into 2024 is maybe bringing a bit more of me to it, and yeah, like I say, finding my character because I don't think I've necessarily found it 100%. I think I'm there and I'm happy with how I am, but I think there's always progression. I look forward to that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And yeah, I've really enjoyed finding out about you. Now, where the people that have watched all of this, first of all, we're going to put links down below to where they can subscribe to your YouTube channel, which they
Or
should.
unsubscribe if they're already a subscriber. They've watched this. They thought, God, he's insufferable. And the link is in the description to unsubscribe as well.
And obviously, you can go and access themagician.club. And there's multiple tiers in there. You can access that immediately. Themagician.club, which is just the coolest URL ever.
I know. Don't ask how much it cost.
If people want to find out about your decks and your Kickstarters with your decks, where would people go to do that? Like a
Oh,
Kickstarter
yes.
finish, can people still jump in on that? Like where?
Yeah, the Kickstarter's finished, but the cards are now up on pre-order. CVN.cards is the website for that. They're on pre-order, and there's a new deck that wasn't part of the Kickstarter that is a totally new thing, which I'll briefly show on camera. Bear with me 1 second. This is a world first, by the way. I've not shown this anywhere. So this is the deck. It's a
Oh, that's beautiful.
I'll crack them open because the spread of them is just amazing. So happy with how it's turned out. It's just really, really colorful. So yeah, if you like the look of this as well, then,
Card manipulators deck, that's great.
So yeah, those are also on pre-order as well as the others. But yeah, don't feel like you have to.
Well, where do you get your ideas from the decks from? Because I mean, you say that you work with a person that graphic designs cards. Do you work together on that, or is it your idea and they imagine it and make it a reality? Like,
yeah, I'm very like I give them a lot of freedom just to be like, here's the general gist of what I want, but he knows what to do, kind of thing. So he's very much sort of got, there's so many ideas in every deck that's just like, I don't even know where that's come from. It's like, it's just, it's equal split, definitely. Although it's got my name on it, we split 50-50. It's very much Arya as well as me.
that's amazing. And are your decks limited edition, like, or
yeah, this will just be, once the pre-order's over, it won't be sold again. It's just like a private reserve edition just for the people that pre-order it. Occasionally there are some that are like Magician Club exclusive, But most of them are just as and when they're available. But they're often in very limited quantities, I guess, just because the size of the audience, just demand wise, I don't overprint too much. So yeah, they're fairly limited edition, I guess.
Okay, and once again, the URL for that is
cvn.cards.
cvn.cards. That is amazing. Cavan, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this. I've absolutely had a blast. Thank you so much for having me. And again, if you're here because of me, then subscribe to Magic TV as well. That goes without saying. I'm sure you're already subscribed, though.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I wish you every continued success, because I can just tell you why that way. You whatever you end up doing, you're going to be successful at it. So
thank you. I'm sure our paths will cross again very soon.
absolutely, I'm sure they will. I'm sure you'll be doing a video on something else that I've done wrong at some point. It's going to happen. Give me a month.
After this interview, Craig Petty exposed
Yeah, exactly.
the real side of him.
Give me like a month and I'll mess up somewhere doing something. It's going to happen. But yeah, if not, I'll see you at Blackpool, I'm sure. But this has been absolutely incredible. One more time, Cavan, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
And guys, like I said, go leave a comment down below. Let Cavan know what you thought. Immediately go and subscribe to his YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Go check out the cards. Go check out the Magician Club. Go check out everything. And yeah, I'll be back next Saturday with another Talk Magic, and tomorrow with a bunch more videos. So I'll see you again. But Cavan, thank you so much.
Thank you.